In the Jewish oral tradition, we have every genre that any other peoples have, including trickster tales. And I know that some of you, many of you, know what I mean by a trickster, that anti-hero who's out to teach somebody a lesson in hospitality, in generosity, in kindness. But these tricksters throughout the world never use violence as their weapons. They only use words and wit. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar when I say trickster character, every country that I think I know about has a trickster. For instance, how many of you know about Brer Rabbit? Anansi the spider in the African tradition, yeah. Til Eulenspiegel, the merrymaker in the German. If you like opera, you'd know that opera, yeah, you would, Robin. And Nesruddin Hoca, or Nesruddin Hoca in Turkey, and Jack Tales of Appalachia. And
Falstaff.
What?
Falstaff.
Falstaff. And Raven.
Bugs Bunny.
Bugs Bunny, yeah, and Raven and Foxtails and on and on and on. And so all of these tricksters are there to teach somebody, as I say, a lesson, usually in a very shrewd, clever, resourceful way. But you know, sometimes tricksters also can be naive and stupid. And so we're going to tell you two stories, and we'll let you decide if the tricksters that we use from the Jewish oral tradition are clever or not. We have two Jewish tricksters in our oral tradition. In Eastern Europe, we have Herschela of Ostropol, or Herschela Ostropolia, who actually existed. He was a real person. He was the jester to the Hasidic master, Rabbi Baruch of Medzebush. We also have in the Sephardic tradition the Arabic trickster that they have co-opted and used in the Jewish versions, and his name is Joha, or if it's more Arabic, it's Joha, more breathy, yeah. And actually, in the first of these stories, we're going to use the most popular character in all of Jewish folklore, and only in this story does he appear as a trickster. Anybody know who that is? Elijah the prophet, yes.
Eliyahu Hanavi.
Eliyahu Hanavi appears in this story, and this first tale is the most, certainly one of the most popular teaching tales in the entire world, and so you will find variants of this story and many other trickster tales with the tricksters being interchangeable. It's kind of nice. You just kind of take out Elijah and you can put in Herschela or Joha and their versions with all the other characters I think that I named a little while ago. So whether they're clever or not, going along with the trickster is always an adventure.
Con Eliyahu Hanavi, con Eliyahu Hatishbi, con Eliyahu Hanavi, con Eliyahu Hatishbi. In early dawn I feel you near, a quiet step so light, so clear. You've come in and closed the door into my heart forevermore. Con Eliyahu Hanavi, con Eliyahu Hatishbi, con Eliyahu Hanavi, con Eliyahu Hatishbi.
Elijah the prophet, may his name be remembered for good, is a master of miracles. And he's also the master of disguise. You never know who is Elijah, perhaps sitting next to you. He appears sometimes as an old beggar, sometimes as a handsome horseman. Elijah sometimes even appears as Elijah. But he often is in disguise, walking up, down and up the streets of a town, watching people as they talk with one another, to see how they act one with another. And he would observe and witness and remember. So one day Elijah, as a beggar in torn, dirty clothes, came to a house where the wedding feast was about to begin. And when he knocked on the door, the father of the bride opened the door, but seeing this beggar standing there with his torn, dirty clothes, said, "My daughter's wedding feast is about to begin. You are not invited." Now maybe you would have gone home, or I might have gone home. Elijah instead put on the clothes of a nobleman, a handsome suit, a silken vest, a satin top hat, and a golden-handled cane. And he returned to the house of this wedding feast, tapped on the door with his golden-handled cane. The father of the bride came to the door, seeing this elegantly dressed gentleman. What do you think he did? He invited him in, and with great kavod, with great honor, he seated him at a place of honor, and they served him the finest foods and wine with honor. And Elijah sat there smiling as the foods and wine were placed in front of him. And then he picked up the fish and stuffed it into his pockets. He picked up the meat with the pomegranate seeds, stuffed it into his other pockets, and the potatoes and the rice and the food and the vegetables into his inside pockets, his outside pockets, his pants pockets, his coat pockets, his vest pockets, even down his sleeves, until the food was overflowing from those pockets. You've never seen this? And then he picked up the wine and poured it all over himself. And the guests had never seen this curious custom. And finally the father of the bride was up on his feet and said, "What are you doing? Are you crazy? We've never seen this ritual." And Elijah by now was laughing as you are. And he said, "It's very simple. For you see, when I first came to this house dressed in my torn, dirty clothes, the father of the bride closed the door on my face. But when I returned wearing these elegant clothes of a gentleman, I was invited in and with great honor, seated at a place of honor and served the finest foods and wine with honor. But I am the same person. The only thing that changed were my clothes. And so since my clothes were invited to the feast, why should they not be fed?" And the guests looked down in shame. But when they looked back up, Elijah the prophet had disappeared, and all that remained on the chair was the golden-handled cane.
The nights have come and gone, but my faith in God lives on. With all my soul I call your name, Eliyahu, amen, amen. Kon Eliyahu hanavi, kon Eliyahu hatishbi, kon Eliyahu hanavi, kon Eliyahu hatishbi.
Joha is a whole other type of trickster, at least in this story.
Signorina, vos yeux noirs, mais la luna était la sua faccia qui
happen to him. He would meet a young lady of marriageable age, but he would always manage to do something stupid. And this young woman would say, "Oh, this Joha's not for me." One day Joha was walking along the street when who should he meet but the shotgun, the matchmaker, the marriage broker. And he began to complain, "I want to get married like my friends, but maybe you can give me some good advice." And the shotgun said to him, "Joha, when you meet a young woman of marriageable age, you should look at her, maybe wink. What do you say? What are some of the things, what advice would you give him?"
Flirt.
Flirt.
Smile.
Smile.
Give her flowers.
Give her flowers? That's not in Joha's category or vocabulary. Remember, tricksters are always poor, and they're always hungry, remember. Well, this shotgun was explaining you should kind of throw her an eye. There's a Hebrew expression, lizrok ayin, everybody. Lizrok ayin. And if you reverse it in sign language, it's I, E-Y-E, everybody, cup your eye. I, throw. I, throw. Lizrok ayin, to throw her an eye. And he kept explaining it like I'm explaining it to you, over and over. And finally, Joha said, "I understand." "Good," said the shotgun. "Come and meet me a little while later, and we'll go to the house where there's a young woman of marriageable age, and I'll be glad to introduce you." And so it was arranged. Well, no sooner did Joha leave the shotgun when he went to the butcher and he said, "Do you have any cow's eyes?"
Of course I have cow's eyes. What kind of butcher shop do you think this
Give
is?
me a dozen.
All right, here you go.
So he put a dozen cow's eyes into a sack. Joha went to meet the matchmaker. So you already know the end of the story. And they went together to this house where there was this young woman of marriageable age. When the father of the young woman opened the door and saw the matchmaker with a young man, why, he invited them in, gave them the best seats at the house, and instructed his daughter to come in with a silver tray and refreshments, which she put on the table, and then she sat down and modestly waited. And then Joha was trying to remember the advice of the shotgun. Lizrok ayin, throw her an eye. And he opened up the sack. He took out one of the cow's eyes and threw it at her. Time passed, and again, Joha was trying to remember what to do, what to say. He opened up the sack, he took out another cow's eye and threw it at her. And by the third time, the father was up on his feet and said, "Get out of here, you're both crazy." And so Joha and the shotgun left the house. But now maybe you can understand why Joha never got married.
Goodbye.